Hello, world. Hopefully you're back with us. Bingo. Do you want to try doing the, like, or no, just posting on the Facebook account page, whatever it's called, seeing if,
posting what?
Just that we're live for it. There was somebody who commented, maybe that's document.
I saw that guy. Let me see.
Oh yeah, look, wow. Are you guys familiar with downdetector.com, the service that the Eastern Washington, Tri-Cities, Walla Walla area is just a big red dot for spectrum.
Uh-oh. Are you having thunderstorms?
No, we've had nice weather today. A little windy.
We had horrible weather today. It was like downpours, and right now it's not downpouring, but it's still black clouds and raining and everything.
Check testing.
Okay.
That's working.
I'll put a little note in Facebook saying we're going live now.
Mini golf for short.
Hello, Christopher Wold again. Not only do I butcher your Twitter handles, I can also butcher your chat room handles.
Now I gotta find the link. Okay, hang on.
Oh yeah, I see. So you're in the middle of that red dot, or what?
Yeah, that's exactly where we are.
There's a link.
One of the few times I wish I lived in Central Oregon or Central Idaho.
Sorry for all our Central Oregon or Central Idaho listeners. Matt doesn't normally like you, only if it's really stormy where he lives.
Hey, I've lived in Central Idaho before, so I can at least speak with experience on that account.
Okay, back up to 11, folks. Let's get this show on the road. All good?
Are we going to be doing spoilers tonight?
For The Incredibles 2?
There was somebody on Twitter. I meant to make a note. Like they managed to avoid spoilers until whatever the most recent show was.
It was the Montreal. I was like, I'm unfollowing at you too, because I was like, oh girl, we've only got like a week and a half left. Dear God, I don't know how she's done it. I mean,
yeah, that's incredible.
That's a feat.
Christopher Wolt, is that right? Christopher Wolt. He says, pronounce it like the D isn't there. Okay, anyways, let's start the program.
People are going to start sending in their spellings.
Hello, welcome to the YouTube podcast, episode number... Oh, where'd the music go? 84. It just completely dropped off. Yeah, if you two can have audio malfunctions, so can we, I think. That's allowed. This is the podcast where we talk all things U2, and mostly recent concert reviews. We'll skip album news because we don't have anything to talk about there. But we do have with me on the program today, I'm Chris, Chris on Twitter, Chris from Canada, and with me on the program is Matt McGee. Hello, Matt.
Chris, how are you?
I'm well. And Tassoula.
Hello.
Hello. So this is the one, I think this is like the 1 week of the year, entire year, where I've been to a concert more recently than Matt. I can't say that for Tassoula.
You haven't been to a concert more recently than me.
No.
It hasn't even been 48 hours since I've been to a concert. So
yeah, here I was coming back from Montreal, and I was like, sweet. I can just completely, it wasn't on my radar that obviously the Apollo show was happening right after, basically. But I wasn't on my radar. I was like, sweet, I'm going to have so much to say. And then it was like, oh, right, they're doing like a unique one-off, never going to happen again show.
Once in a lifetime show at a historic
Apollo
venue. Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, it's great they were in Montreal, but let's talk about no. We'll talk Montreal too. Yeah.
Maybe I should host and you two be the guests.
There you go. I don't know how
it's been over a month since I've seen a show.
There you go.
God, that doesn't even seem that doesn't seem real.
That's
That
right.
Vegas
Welcome
was
to
that
my
long
world.
ago?
Vegas
I've still
was
got the
over-
same pedicure. I've still got the same pedicure. That's a
Me
damn
too.
good pedicure.
I had
Right?
to
Right?
for the
I know,
viewers.
right?
I did buy the shirt. Had to wear, had
I'll
to wear the
show.
shirt.
What did you get?
I just.
The Montreal U2 Montreal. It's hard to like.
Oh, you
It,
got
make-
the-
it doesn't have the
it doesn't have
stars on it.
no.
The stars. The
'Cause
special
we're-
edition.
We're
So-
not America.
Does it have
This
it?
is-
Thankfully, Bono.
They could
yeah,
have put
see?
like a jar of maple syrup on there or something.
So
See, I'll show my
stereotypical.
shirt and then Tassoula.
Yeah, okay. You
so
show
that's the
your
U2
shirt, and then I'll
Montreal.
show my shirt. That's cool.
And then flip over
I like
to
it.
Tassoula, your shirt. See, upstaged again. One-off shirt you can't buy anywhere else.
Apollo. And it was free. I
Yeah,
didn't
and
have
that's
to
the
buy
other
it.
part.
It was free.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the beauty of it. Yeah. Isn't that
And
nice?
yes, as Document01 reminds me in the chat room, we do have 100 remixes of Love is Bigger to go through as well tonight. We'll go through each one.
Right,
Review.
what is going
That
on?
They're off the rails, right?
Yeah. That's what
I
everybody...
like the song. I'm starting to dislike it because I'm getting sick of it.
I had we can just jump right into there wasn't any questions sent in, but you can send comments, questions into the show if you want to using hashtag #U2 on Twitter and then on Facebook. We'll try and remember to check that as well for any questions, comments. The chat room, Roland just, I don't know, who was it? Yeah, Roland just posted a comment that said it's a scratch and sniff shirt, smells like maple syrup, but Twitch blocked it because it thought maybe it was sexual or aggressive in nature.
Oh
Comments.
no.
So I had to allow it through, so it's okay. But yeah, we were talking Love is Bigger, and I was when I was in Montreal, I finally met a bunch of folks. Roland is one of them. He's from Newfoundland, listener of the show. Vid was there, of course. People who are at like almost every show. It's almost like meeting a member of U2 in a sense. Sarah, U2 Ginger, Michael, and the Slipstream, also a podcast listener who was there with his 2 kids, which is awesome. I think they're 11 and 8 or something like that. Very close to my 2 oldest, and so it's kind of like a motivation to bring my kids to a future show. And then a bunch of folks who were at. There's a pre-show on Monday night for December, the band from Scotland that we've had on the show before, and then also Acrobat, the U2 tribute band that a few tours ago was on stage with U2 when they were played for them, basically. So
I'm jealous
anyways.
you got to see December in North America. That's pretty cool.
yeah, and actually, I don't want to break any confidentiality agreements or anything, but I've officially signed on to be their bass player. So if they're ever in Canada again. So
did you jump on stage and play a few with them, or
no, I got to be the Dallas shoe to
you
December.
tuned their instruments for them?
He handed me a guitar and I took it backstage and handed him a different guitar. And actually,
that's cool.
the lead singer of Acrobat, the Bono, at one point, because I was standing right on the side of the stage there, his mic wasn't working, and so he like looked at me and then gave me the mic with a battery because I think the battery was dying, and I kind of grabbed it and I was supposed to like take the tape off, pull the battery out, put a new battery in, but I kind of fumbled for a second, and then he like just grabbed it back from me. He's like, "You don't know what you're doing." So I was fired
Yikes.
by Acrobat, but December was happy with my work, so take that for what you will.
Europeans
What
are
a
gentler.
trip that was for you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, seeing both shows there, I'm trying to remember back now to the experience. Like I was saying before we started recording, it feels like a long time ago, but just obviously the experience of seeing this show finally. I didn't see the Innocence and Experience tour, so I hadn't had any experience of the screen of any of the songs that they've replayed, obviously from that tour. So it was all brand new for me, but loved the show. Seeing it twice was obviously kind of really fun as well. They didn't mix it up too much. They took out Gloria and played All Because of You instead, and so that was it. Kind of hoping for a little bit more, I don't know, something lighter, something
Variety.
that they'd mix it up with a bit. But yeah. And they had, as probably people by now have hopefully seen I know we have it on our YouTube channel, but Bono made a little more Canadian style rant. Not Canadian style, I guess, but Canadian themed. Canadian style would
Yes.
be more apologetic, but
That
Canadian
first
themed.
night of Mr. McFisto was amazing.
That's sorry at the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he apologized. That would have been so perfect if he had.
Yeah.
I was waiting. I mean, if it hadn't been the big week of G7, I wondered if Trudeau was going to be there because they're buddies, you know? And I was like, if he calls out to Trudeau from the audience, I'm never missing another Canadian show.
Well, he was rumored to have been there. There was a bit of like talk. I don't know. I forget who I heard this from, but that he was
probably Vid. She's got
Trudeau,
a cousin that's an MP. So
yeah, Trudeau was supposed to be there, or there was like arrangements being made for him to come, and then he backed out or something. And so who knows? I don't know how much truth there is, but
there's probably. I bet that was absolutely true.
Yeah, which would explain why Bono went after him a little bit too to see. So this train 9900 in the chat asked what was my impression of finally hearing Acrobat. And I think I was right next to the E stage. That's where I knew I wanted to be. Both nights actually, I sort of moved it a little bit around the E stage, but that's basically where I was. And yeah, Acrobat definitely was. I think one of the highlights. Love is Bigger was something I was also looking forward to hearing. One actually hit me. I know Tassoula's not a huge fan of One, but it was actually
the best part of the Apollo show. It wasn't there,
but it was great to hear that live because I'm sure I heard it live at the previous tours I'm on. Obviously, they've played it almost constantly, but yeah, hearing Acrobat and that's where I wish, like we were joking about someone who had been spoiler free. Like that moment would have been even more epic if I didn't know it was coming and was like, what the heck? Why is Mephisto on the screen? And then like into Acrobat or whatever. But still being that close to Edge as he's shredding through the solo and seeing the band play it live and hearing it live and hearing people around me who didn't know that it was coming was almost as exciting, I guess, as being new to it myself. But, maybe Roland says, he was actually asking about the Acrobat, the tribute band, not Acrobat the song, which also was really good.
After 15 minutes on Acrobat the song, the tribute band was great. They're awesome. They're always good.
No, he's just playing me, but yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to remember anything else that was really cool that happened there as far as the concert. It's just, I mean, neat. Obviously, finally getting to be a part of this show that everybody's been talking about and hearing about for so long. And it does leave me now watching the streams a bit like wondering, and this is, I know, a common criticism or discussion point of like just the repetition of the show and the predictability of it and the scriptedness of it, I guess, basically, that they're kind of running through, and leaves me wishing for a bit more excitement with it. But I've had my experience, so I'm happy that other folks get to have similar experiences, I guess, of this theatrical production of a U2 concert.
I want to know, I have a question. I want to know what you felt, because I know you've told us that you saw the Paris DVD of the IE, right?
Yep.
So you have seen that sequence before, but you haven't seen Cedarwood and Iris, or Iris, Cedarwood, and Sunday Bloody Sunday live. So what were your impressions of that, even though you had already seen it, but you hadn't been there for it?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, I find this through the whole show even was like a bit of like, and Sue, my wife and I, she was there for the first show and not the second one, but we were kind of talking about it afterwards. It feels a bit like, okay, you've kind of built up this moment in your mind, like even hearing Acrobat too is like, this is going to be so epic and this is going to be awesome. And then it's like, it is, but it's also just four guys playing it and they're right there. And like, it's cool, but it's almost like, I'm like, okay, when's the like big chills going to run through my whole body for 5 minutes or whatever moment? And those kind of things didn't exactly happen, but that section, I was sad that I mean, I wasn't expecting it because they'd cut it a while ago, but that Raised by Wolves wasn't in there because I was really wanting to hear that song.
That one is fantastic. It's a shame they've taken it out.
Gloria was great, of course, to hear. Just I don't think I've ever heard that one live. And so you're checking off some of those bucket list items, but yeah, I love the Sunday Bloody Sunday done the way they did it with the four of them, on the what's it called, catwalk, the stage, whatever, walkway, facing each in different directions or whatever, and seeing sort of from my perspective Bono's view down the aisle of the three bandmates with him singing this song. It was very cool and very, I love that sequence. And Iris too.
Did you catch any debris? Did you get any debris from the ceiling?
No, the second night I got what's called Bono-tized or whatever.
Yeah, Bono-tized.
With water?
Yeah.
With water?
Yeah. So my Apple hat has some Bono water on it that I'll never wash the hat again, even though it's very stinky.
That DNA is powerful, man.
Yeah, exactly. So, but, and actually like even the crowd too, like, which, I mean, all jokes aside about Canadian crowds, like I've been to other U2 shows with Canadian crowds where there's drunk idiots pushing you and making a nuisance of themselves. But both nights actually they were great. There's a couple moments where some idiots trying to push their way. There's this, maybe this is a common technique when it's all concerts, but like all of a sudden we realize there's this older mom and her daughter kind of pushing their way through the crowd towards the E stage because Bono's going to leave at the end of the concert, and they're like pointing in a different direction as they're walking through, like getting people to look back there or whatever, kind of thing, distracting people.
Oh, wow.
And then they're sneaking through them. And
That's
so
dirty.
me and this guy who's like tattooed up to the yin with U2 tattoos and like muscle, they kind of like were going through us, and we both kind of looked at her, and I was just like, it's not happening. Like, you're stopping here. Like,
Good for you.
yeah.
I hate that crap.
I know, it's like you can move around at the show for sure.
it
Like
is.
you're in GA, move
Sure.
around, but don't get in
You
front
don't
of
get in
people.
front of people.
Yeah. So
Chris,
anyway.
had you ever seen them play in Montreal before? Because I just mentally in my head I know that Montreal like has a reputation for always being a great crowd and great shows and that sort of stuff.
They were loud.
Yeah, I saw them on I always mix them up now. The Vertigo tour, the Heart in Montreal when Arcade
Elevation.
Fire, Elevation,
was the
sorry,
part.
Arcade Fire opened for them.
But
and they
Arcade
closed.
Arcade Fire was Vertigo though.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty.
Maybe
Weren't they? Or were they?
Yeah.
No, maybe.
definitely
you're
was
right.
Arcade Fire. Maybe it was the Circle. No, it was the Circle because everybody in line was like, "Oh no, it was the Circle one when Bono was running." That's the one.
Then that's the Ellipse from Vertigo.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, but that's so I did see them in Montreal for that show, and yeah, I mean, definitely the night one was loud. Every song had like
It was
huge
really
cheer.
loud. I live tweeted that, and I couldn't hear stuff because of the crowd.
Yeah.
So that's a good crowd.
Yeah. Night two felt a little more subdued, and the band even felt a little bit more subdued, like just a bit less energy, and maybe their minds were already on Apollo or whatever, who knows, but
Missing Edge's son's graduation.
yeah.
Maybe that was it.
Life stuff, and yeah. And yeah, there was Roland's reminded me there was this lady right in front of me for night two holding up the sign for Bono, or I forget what it was, that she wanted to get his attention, and just I thought first time she held it up, I was like, okay, yeah, you're trying to get their attention. They saw it. Edge looked right at it. Adam looked right at it. Larry, of course, is off in Drumland, and then they come around again, and she holds it up again. And I'm like, okay, they've seen it. They're not acknowledging it. This is a scripted.
Right.
This is like a scripted show. He's not gonna like pull you up from the audience because it happens to be your birthday tomorrow or whatever. Like, it's just not happening. And especially once the second or third time is around, they're like, all right, that's good. Let's move on now. And luckily, she kind of shuffled off to a different direction. But I thought for a moment, I tweeted like a picture of what my view of Adam basically was the sign.
I
with
saw
Adam's
that.
feet
Yeah,
below it.
that
I was
pissed
like-
me off for you. Ooh.
Yeah, I knew lots of YouTube
We had
fans
a
would
bit
hail
of
the
that
pan.
Monday too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything else, Roland? You're listening along. If you pipe in if I've forgotten something, but
Chris, I'll ask one other thing then. They made, I mean, we kind of joked about the change on your T-shirt, but they also changed, what was it? American Soul, right?
it didn't have a flag.
Didn't have the American flag, right?
They didn't
So,
have the flag.
but it showed the Canadian flag on the screen. So, were you expecting that? Did that go over well?
Yeah, I mean, anytime any sort of Canadian reference, like Spinal Tap kind of moment that Bono threw in, obviously gets a lot of cheers, and like even the Canadian flag up gets a lot of cheers, and it's a little bit like they could have if it doesn't take much, obviously, knowing what I know as far as like computer stuff, to like copy and paste a Canadian flag photo,
Right? Yeah, exactly.
and throw it
like
up on the big screen.
2.5 minutes of work for that.
Yeah. So, but like if they'd gotten a huge Canadian flag to drape down at the back like they do the American one, obviously that would have been really cool. But I also understand why for two shows they're not going to likely do that kind of stuff. But definitely the crowd as a whole was like, pumped, and half of them at least probably don't know that there's supposed to be a big American flag coming down there. And American Soul went over really well. Like I was, you
It's
just
a
kind of
good song live.
Yeah.
It's a
But
really
you think
good
like
song.
because it's American and because it's
Sure.
a newer song, that people won't necessarily recognize it or cheer or dance or sing along as much or whatever. But yeah, it's a great song live. So no worries there.
Do you think Kendrick Lamar helps that? The little intro and
I don't know. I was talking when
Association.
we were streaming when I was streaming the Periscopes, and I don't think we confirmed that they didn't actually have the graphic of Kendrick on the screen, which they didn't tonight either in Philly apparently. But so I mean, some folks would have known that it was him, but he's not as like well known up here, I would guess. Obviously, if you're into rap or just modern music, you are aware of it. But a good portion of the crowd is neither of
Probably
those
not.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think it makes a difference that way or not, but, yeah. Matt, you got all sunny all of a sudden. Is there like
Yeah. I
the
just
sun's
saw
peeking
that.
through?
It's like beams.
There is a light. I think you're muted as well.
You are on mute.
Oh, sorry, was I on mute? Yeah,
There you go.
the sun just came down below the roof of our patio and is now shining on my face. Do you mind if I go close my blinds a little bit?
Go for it.
You need to. That's
Yeah,
funny.
Roland says the crowd on night 2 in GA was deafening at points, where his ears actually hurt. So,
Wow.
wishes the audience. So, depending on probably where you were too, I guess.
My
it
goodness.
but yeah, no, a very good show and great to see folks. It was. I actually wore the At You 2 shirt the first night and got almost no recognition other than as we were leaving. Some guy, like, I was looking the other way and Sue, my wife, was like, I think that guy's calling to you. And he's like, At You 2, At You 2. Sort of waved, but otherwise, yeah. And then, but in the second night, there was a family in line I was just happened to be next to a Montreal-based family, and I was like, sort of got around talking about U2 and comparing tours and all that stuff. And then I mentioned that I help out with the podcast on atu2.com, and he's like, oh, that site, that's like my Bible for all things U2, and anytime I need to look anything up. And so he was very appreciative that Matt started the site way back when and is still running it today. So yeah, that's Montreal. Any other questions from the audience? Or the host, Matt?
Yeah. Do you want me to take over as host?
I was going to say, there was a question from @Phil Sounds, or comment, maybe he saw both Montreal shows with longtime U2 fans. Everyone left somewhat disappointed in not wanting to see more shows in this tour. Everyone felt the show was too much like 2015, and there were lazy aspects to the setlist selection beyond new songs and Acrobat. Your thoughts, which we've kind of talked about a bit. But he said Adam seemed disinterested during Pride on both shows in Montreal, while Edge appeared really into it. What songs do you think the band cringe at playing but still do, and what songs do they want to play that the audience are not into on this tour?
I don't think they cringe. I don't think they play
Crowd
anything they don't want to play.
seemed gone on
Has he
staring
met
at the
Larry
sun.
Mullen?
I sometimes wonder. I mean, they got like I mean, like an individual band member might not want a song as much as another one, or maybe like Adam is tired of Pride or whatever. But I also think it's
doesn't
like
seem tired of. I mean, well,
yeah,
not on my
Adam
shows. He just sure didn't seem tired of anything.
Adam is just so cool for school. He's just the most.
Right.
I don't think he's disinterested. He's just
No.
more cool than the rest of us combined, is what it is.
That's right. That's right.
yeah. You're not used to seeing a guy that laid back, and so you think he must be disinterested.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I do have one more question, Chris. Did
Yeah.
you miss Streets?
No, I guess I'll preface that by saying I'm not a City of Blinding Lights fan. I feel like it just doesn't. I know there's like Ian, if he's listening later, is like a huge City of Blinding Lights fan. So I can totally get why you love it, and I don't think it's a bad song. But I feel like it just doesn't have. I think I said this on the Atomic Bomb episode when we reviewed that, but somehow it doesn't land with the same, whether it's a bass kicking in at the right point or drum rhythm or whatever it is. But to me, it doesn't feel like it has that same kind of thing. Even though I think the band, I know Adam has commented that it's kind of like the Streets for this tour almost, and.
Well, the graphics are super cool during this because it changes to the city that you're in.
Yeah, the graphics, and then also the like sort of lights
And
that change
cyan.
the crosses, and which Sue, my wife, was saying that like all that light production just for that one song is pretty actually incredible, that they put that much effort into that one song. Which again,
But the light part of it is recycled, so it's
Right.
less work.
from
I
last
mean,
tour, yeah.
From last tour, yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful though. I mean, don't get me. I like it. I like
Yeah.
that song, but
Yeah, so I didn't miss any of the Joshua Tree stuff. And again, maybe because I saw Joshua Tree last year, the tour, like if you hadn't seen
Right.
that, and this was, the first time since whatever it was that I saw in Montreal, the Vertigo tour.
it's 2005 or 2006.
Yeah, if that was like the last time, because they didn't play, they played Toronto on the I&E tour, I think, or no, must have played Montreal. Anyways,
Yeah, they did.
yeah.
They played Toronto.
So then, folks in Montreal might not have seen them, and so you might be missing out a bit on some of that stuff. But yeah, I personally didn't. So I would happily hear Streets, like if they all of a sudden came out after 13 and were like,
Did it out.
let's just do one more song.
Okay. What did you think about the end? Because we've been talking about the ending, how we agree with it thematically and visually, it's perfect, but the song kind of falls flat. The two slow songs at the end. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I think I loved it, and the experience, like balancing what I like versus what I sort of sense from the crowd, I guess, are the two ways you can approach that. Because the crowd, I think, kind of felt like, okay, is this really the end? Because that seems like a weird ending. But then the lights come on, the PA music kicks in right away, and very obvious cues that the band is gone, and outside of the Elvis has left the building PA announcer kind of thing, they give every visual and audio cue that they're not coming back.
Right.
Yeah.
But thematically, I love it. Like, I think it's spot on for where they started to where they ended to from where I&E was to where they are now, and just sort of continuing that story. I don't need the big like celebration moment to get out of the stadium. Someone in the
they could I think I've kind of thought about this a little since whenever we talked about it on the last time on the podcast. They could still have that closure of the theme and the walking off the stage if they just put 13 at the end of the main set.
Right.
And then
yeah.
And then you've got the encore. Then you've got the encore to do whatever you darn well. Yeah, just do whatever you darn well please. They could, move "Love Is Bigger" and then 13 to the end of the main set, and I don't know. It's just I was just thinking, if that's because I remember, like I said, when I was in Vegas and chatting with people, that's one of the debates that they were having and debates that we've had. Is that the right way to end? I thought, well, what if you just do that at the end of the main set? Maybe that kills both, or not kills both birds, but you know what I mean. Solves both problems. Don't call PETA on me.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, Document 01 says
in trouble this morning for eating meat on his Instagram page.
Reminds them of the ending of Zoo TV with "Love Is Blindness," which is a good comparison. I think. I don't know. I think I feel like I like that it didn't end with the big rah we're you two and we're so great and you need to cheer for us kind of moment. They had that, obviously. It's not like they skipped that completely, but they did leave you like with something to think about if you're wanting to think about it. And
if thinking's your thing.
Yeah. If you're in a drunken stupor at that point, then obviously you're just like, where's the streets, man? Yeah.
A good impression of a drunk person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he is drinking beer, so.
It's water. See, it's just Guinness with class. It says what? Anyways, so that's Montreal. This train says, I Will Follow ended some of last year's shows with a bang and left you buzzing. Yeah, that's fair. Like
the Seattle show. Yeah, that was the best part. That was because they surprised everybody.
Yeah. At U2 Johnny asked, how much do you think that the set list will change on the tour by the time it hits Europe? Loving the podcast is always a great show. Thanks, U2 Johnny. What do we think? I like seeing how they didn't really change much for Canada, which is admittedly only 2 shows. Do we think that they're going to make drastic changes in Europe, or is it going to be thematically and set list even the same?
I thought they would have. I used to think they would make changes, but now I'm thinking that that they are set on telling this story and that it's going to be pretty much the same. That's, if I had to guess, that's what I would say.
Because what's the goes July 3rd is Uncasville.
God bless you.
God bless you.
And then what's the I'm just on tours.at u2.com where you can find out all about tours that U2 is on. But then
you can also go to the calendar on YouTube on at u2.com, and that has it as well.
What's
in
the
nice,
next?
orderly
How long
fashion.
of a break do they have in there? I'm trying to find.
Like 2 months.
Is it?
No.
Isn't it? How long?
No, you're right. It is almost 2. I thought it was shorter
2
than
months.
That. It's end
Dude,
of
I
August.
do the calendar. Yeah. I know it doesn't seem like a lot of work, but
what are we going to do during July and August? Jeez, Louise. Maybe we should just all go to the south of France.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where they're going to be.
Zip.
So that's where I think they have the time and space, obviously, to do stuff if they so desire, if they're not too busy drinking wine, I guess, or whatever rock stars
celebrating
do in
Edge's
France.
birthday.
Yeah, that's really.
That'll be the next question. Instead of what do they smell like, what are they doing?
Edge's birthday, Bono and Ali's anniversary. There's all those things that happen in the summertime. So they do the same thing. They go the same places every year.
Yep. It's like, guarantee.
Maybe
Early
it's not
August.
short.
Early August, you're going to start seeing paparazzi photos of Bono in long pants and a hat walking on the beach in the south of France.
Yeah.
Yep. That's about right.
So I'm thinking I'm in agreement with Matt. I think, and that they're not going to change much because you can say they're lazy or they've settled on. They definitely want to tell this story, and that's the story they're going to tell. And then they'll hit Australia, right? I think is the next.
Wouldn't
Don't
that
do
be
that
awesome?
to people.
I know.
I would hope it. I hope it happens, but don't do that.
Yeah. No, I didn't
He's
hear
kidding.
anything.
We
Nobody
don't
said
have
anything.
information.
They didn't tell us anything in Montreal. They didn't. I did get it was a fun show. So, all right, let's move on to the more recent show, which was the Apollo.
Is there something else to talk about?
Or I guess you just stop there. I guess I don't have anything
Thanks
else.
for
That was the
tuning in.
Canadian episode.
We'll see you next time. Oh, Tassoula, you were at a show.
I just dropped out of the sky. Actually changed my flight. I was actually not even at home. I had to change my flight. I was in Southern California by the pool and went to rainy New York. The sacrifices I make. No, I'm kidding.
Can you hear any sympathy
a
from
plane
us?
ticket I was happy to change, let's just say.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So what
I've
was
never
the,
been so glad of tweeting out an ugly picture of myself in an old t-shirt before. Let me tell you that.
So what was the experience of going to the Apollo? That you have a great review up on at ut.com, which we'll link up in the show notes, which you can find at goodstuff.fm/ATU2/84, which I'll just stick in a little, if u2.com would actually link things properly, then goodstuff.fm would have gotten a nice little boost of Google juice, but they don't because they link to the site, but they just put the text.
I have a first person account going up on u2.com as well. It's not up yet. I just checked before we went up there. So I don't know when or if that'll actually run, but I did write something for them.
YouTube.com is stealing our entire staff? Is that what's going on here?
I know.
This is actually the last episode of the At YouTube podcast. We're restarting the YouTube.
YouTube.com podcast. Yeah. It's like it's a testament to your good hiring skills, Matt. It's all about. Oh, he doesn't have his headphones on. He can't hear me yet. I said it's a testament to your good hiring skills. They see that you have such good talent. They want to borrow it.
Get it all out the edge.
But and I was very careful to write very different things. But anyway, yes, the Apollo was. I still can't. I mean, I just wrote 300 words. I'm like, I can't put it into words. I guess I can because I did twice for two different sites. But no, it was unforgettable. Like I never get lucky like that. I know that doesn't feel that way to people that listen to our show and watch us and say, oh, she goes to tons of shows. I do, but I don't go to shows like this. And I've never had an experience like this. So I could not be more grateful. And I'm still floating from it. Let's just say my poor office mates today, dear God, like I could not shut up. And they were like, so how was your trip? And just innocently, politely asking. And I was like, oh my God, look at the shirt. Look at read my article. Look at the shirt. Yeah. They were like, sorry they asked, but
nice.
Great.
So it looked like they made I think you mentioned, I forget where I read this, but like they took out the seats that are normally in there, or the orchestra pit, sorry. So
it was the first time in history. Okay. That place has been there since 1914. Became the Apollo officially in 1934, which you could read about in my article. I did all this on the venue because it's just such a magical place, and it's one of those places where I don't care what anybody says, your chemistry does change. When you walk in the room, you can feel it's a vibe. It's a tangible vibe that you can feel. And there's, it's lined, the walls of the hallways are lined with pictures of the great legends who have performed there. Mm-hmm. It's basically a museum at this point, and it functions as one during the daytime. They give us and all that. And now I kick myself because, we probably couldn't have gotten in realistically that day. But the next time I'm in New York in a couple weeks for another U2 concert, I might try to go take a tour of actual building because it's got such a rich history and everything. But anyway, you just walk in and there's this glory to it. It's a beautiful building for one thing. There's opulent, decor and chandeliers and lights, and the Apollo is written in that old classic style all over the place throughout, and red carpets and really lush fabrics and everything. Steep stairways to the restroom. Glad I changed my shoes and had a hint that there may be a GA situation. So thank God I did not wear the cute sandals I had for my fancy outfit. So I was like, I'm going to the Apollo. This isn't some grubby, awful stadium where I'm going to sweat in a t-shirt. I'm going to look like I'm going to the Apollo, And so I had heels, and I had, it's like, oh, thank God I changed my shoes. But anyway, yeah. So, where do you want me to begin now that I've given you that whole thing? Do you want me to tell you what the process was like?
We're basically experiencing what her coworkers experienced today.
Totally, yeah. So the chairs is what we were actually talking about. So yes, never in history have they pulled out the chairs, and they took out all the chairs on the main floor. So when we went in, you have 2 balconies, and then the side wings, there's two sections on each side of the balconies that come down. But then the actual floor, rises up, and it was all gutted. And then they still had kind of sections for it. And there was a bar. We had free drinks. Like I said, I did not partake because I do not want to I've never had a drop of alcohol at any U2 show, nor will I ever have a drop of alcohol at any U2 show. But there were people that took great advantage of that privilege, I will say. Yeah, there were some bros that could have done without the 3rd or 4th glass. Let's just be real. What they should have done is give us like tickets, and then that would have provided a limit. But they were literally walking around with trays, just like, have a beer, have a glass of wine, I think Mason had Chardonnay or something. He was not impressed. But
is he old enough for that?
Right? I know. I was like, did they card you? But
his parents.
He and Jill, our youngins, partook in a lovely glass of wine. But they limited. They stopped at that, right? But most of the people in the audience around us did not stop, and that would be a complaint I would make if I had to do it all over again. Say, guys, maybe if you're going to be that generous, maybe just limit it, because we didn't need that. But anyway, that said, it was a very orderly process. We all got in line. They came around. They stamped our hands. This is the first day that I've been able to get it off my hand. So kudos to whatever Sharpie ink they're using on their stamp pad. But it said Apollo, and then they came down the line. They checked our IDs in line, gave us lanyards. And then when we got to another table, they gave us wristbands if we were on the floor. And the distinction, we believe, or what we tried to figure out, was that serious winners were in the seats, and U2.com and Twitter winners were on the floor, from what we understand. But there may have been some overlap there, because we did see some serious people on the floor. So I don't know. Any guess is as good as mine. But It made sense with the amount of people. There was a lot more serious subscribers that won than fan club members, obviously. But anyway, once we got...
I was just going to say, Document 01 said the guy yelling about Chris Cornell must have had a few drinks in him. Must have been one of the streamers.
Oh, I yelled at that guy. By the way, That's me on the tape, everyone, going, that's enough. That's what I said. I said, that's enough. Because it was so disrespectful. I couldn't. I was at my limit at that point. So anyway, here we go again with the bros. So we go in, very orderly. They got us in a very lovely fashion, no drama whatsoever. It was very pleasant, nice. They handed us hard tickets. So I have a hard ticket that says the Apollo, which is just such a good souvenir.
Wait,
and then
sorry,
we had
just interrupt 1 second. That just reminds me, on the previous stops of E and I tour, have you gotten to keep your tickets? Or
it depends on the venue.
Okay,
it depends on the venue.
Montreal, they wouldn't let us keep them.
St. Louis I did, but on Innocence, we couldn't somewhere. I don't know where it was, but yeah, it pisses me off. I think Seattle. I don't think I have a Seattle ticket, which is stupid. But anyway, but we got a hard ticket for this, which was awesome. And then there were like bag restrictions, of course. So that was another panic, because Michelle and I had both bought bags that respected the size, but they didn't have zippers, or they didn't have something. So like we test jumped them in our hotel room to see if our stuff would fall out of it, and it did. So the good news is that when Karen and I got off the plane on Sunday, it was pouring down rain, and neither one of us were prepared for that because we were coming from LA. We flew together from LA, and it was like 80 when we left LA. Tank tops, literally. So we get there. I'm in Birkenstocks. I've got shorts on. I'm like, this is not okay. I'm from Seattle. I should be prepared for this. I didn't even have a hoodie packed. That's how bad it was. It was not in the forecast. So we run into like Dwayne Reed or whatever. We get to Penn Station, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get a poncho or whatever. So I grab the first thing I find, which is like $8 or something. I go up to the register, I get it. As we're walking out, I see the stupid little disposable ones that I have probably 30 of in my kitchen here in Seattle for like $1. I'm like, son of a bee, why did I just blow $8 on this fancy big poncho that I'm probably not even going to wear? We go outside. Karen buys a like $3 umbrella and we're good. So I didn't even open the effing poncho. We get to our hotel, all this stuff. We find out about the situation that we're going to be probably in GA and we're going to be able to dance around. We're not just going to be sitting or standing in seats. And so I'm like, what the heck am I going to use? We got an hour till we need to be in Harlem. I don't have time to go shopping for another bag, nor the money. And so get this. The poncho came in a zipper bag that was the exact size it needed to be for the show. And it had a little elastic band that fit perfectly around my wrist like a rubber band. Hallelujah. Things happen for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. So God was with me. Okay, so I used that. And
are we at the Apollo yet? I'm losing track.
We haven't even gotten to the show yet.
So no, I was just going to tell you because the staff at the Apollo literally complimented me on they're like, that bag is perfect because they could see through it. They didn't even search it because they could see through it. They could see everything in it. It's like, thank you, Dwayne Reed. Thank you, Panicking Tassoula. Okay, anyway. So we're in.
So do you remember anything about the show?
Yeah, well, no, I'm kidding. Of course I remember everything about the show.
Yeah, Document One says, I wish I could get that excited for a poncho. There's an episode title, even if it's the listener. Okay, keep going. Sorry, the show.
That's our title right there.
Haha. So anyway, we get in, we got a lovely spot over by Edge. My old technique of going the opposite way from where everybody else is going worked because we would have been like 5 or 6 layers back on Adam's side or in the middle. But I said, go to the opposite side. And we all hustled over there. And so we're 2 or 3 layers back from Edge, depending on the dancing going on. Yeah. So that was fantastic. But I shouldn't have gotten too excited, of course, because then the bros move in. And there's like 3 or 4 together, and they're super excited. Everybody's excited. Everybody's in great spirits. We had lovely conversations. There's a guy, hi Jimmy, from Nashville that is a fan of At You Too, and he recognized us, introduced himself actually when we were in line, and then we ended up next to him at the show. He was great. His buddies were great. We had a couple people on the other side of us. Some of the people you mentioned, Chris, from Montreal. So Mark was there. U2 Ginger was there. Colleen, shout out to Colleen, who found me and Sherry on the street and just ran up and like giggled and got excited and started hugging us. So we're like, Ed, and you are. And she's like, I'm Colleen. Oh my God, At You Too. Woo! And she's like clapping. She was great. Nice. Anyway, we have a selfie with her that's on Twitter. But she was fun. There was a lot of people that came around. None of us wore staff shirts. So this is where the podcast is making people recognize us, right? Because how would they know what we look like from avatars aren't always easy.
When you shouted, that's enough. That's when they're like, voice.
My voice, absolutely. But that was like, at the end of the first encore, right? So we'd had some time for Tassoula's temper to flare up by then. But anyway, so we're milling about and we're all looking up into the balconies because somebody says, oh my gosh, it was me actually. I was like, there's little Stephen. And so like, oh my gosh. And so then John Bon Jovi and then John McEnroe. And it's so funny because all of those people were there the night that they were inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's like the same crew of friends that they have, I guess, that come and see them. But anyway, lovely. Everybody claps and cheers for them and they waved people. They're very nice. And Jared Leto's walking around in the back with Guy Oseary. And so everybody's just got their eye out. Gavin came in. I think Mason got Gavin actually on the Instagram story for At You Too. Mason was working the whole time. Yeah. anyways, but we're just kind of nonchalantly looking around, and I thought, well, they're bringing the VIPs in, so it's got to be close to start time. And Sebastian comes in, and he's like 3 or 4 layers behind us. We wave, hey, how you doing? But he looks like he's just sitting there. He's ready to go. Like he's just gonna watch the show. And I'm glancing around, and this girl starts shrieking, like ah! You know, or whatever. Glance up. Here's Larry Mullen, huge smile on his face. Like it is the happiest I've ever seen Larry that night. That was magical how happy he was. He smiled the whole show. So he's like he just comes out, white t-shirt, those spectacles as Bono called them. He smiles and he waves at everybody, and then oh my gosh, there's Bono, there's Edge, there's Adam, and they just go, as you could see from the video, I'm sure. Didn't really say anything. They just, you know, here's I Will Follow, right? So we're just so excited and jumping around and dancing around. And then here's Electrico, which is my favorite. Of the early stuff, that's my absolute favorite. And I was just over the moon, so excited. My feet did not touch the ground, right? So there's 2 songs. Okay. And so Michelle glances over at me, and we're like wiping sweat. And she's like, I need a ballad. And then they go, Out of Control. And we're like, okay, we're out of control. So then they stop that, and you hear the whole thing goes red. All the lights go red. And you hear Red Flag Day, and we're like, they're not going to stop. Like, this is going to be the pace of this whole entire show. And that first main set, that was the pace of the entire show. I mean, All Because of You was kind of when people just, I don't know if it was indifference over the song or just sheer exhaustion, but people did kind of calm down during that and settle down a little bit. But Beautiful Day, I mean, everything in American Soul, Bono crowd surfed, and we were just like, oh my God, please don't drop him. Please don't drop him. Please don't let him get hurt. Because he was not steady. Like if you watch the videos, you can see him. He looks like he's surfing. And I'm just like, I mean, like really surfing, not crowd surfing. And and he had that big old damn megaphone in his hand. He's waving it around like that thing is going to overpower him. He's going to fall backwards. And his security, if you look at the security on the tape, they're just like, ah. But anyway, wonderful moment, no less. But that first main set, I think it was Variety. Sherry tweeted out a link to an article, I'm pretty sure it was Variety, where the reporter just nailed it. And they were like, if they had not stopped at that point, people would have passed out. Like it was just go time. And I'm telling you, I've never been in so much pain. Like we are 2 days out, and I'm Googling like calf damage, because I think I did something permanent to my right calf.
Okay, Roland's asking, I don't know where this was in the set, but during Electrico, he says, was there a funny moment during Electrico where Larry lost a stick and it went flying across stage?
Oh my gosh, so that's one of the things. So that was before the bros really blocked my view. I got a good shot. I got a good view of the first 4 songs. So I am jockeying between, because they're going between excitement, like, you know, normal like hand stuff, and flipping up their cameras to take video and pictures, and like bouncing with each other and you know, broing on the side. And so I'm like doing this because I placed myself specifically to watch Larry. I always watch Larry, you know, that's what I prefer. But Edge is who I'm in front of, you know, so I'm not disappointed in that. But I'm kind of watching Larry, but I can't see much of him, so I'm focusing more on Edge. And then out of my peripheral, I see something flying through the sky, and I'm like, what the hell was that? And everybody's like, oh my God, Larry lost his stick. And I was like, Larry lost his stick. And then, but I glanced over, and the next glimpse I saw, he's got both drumsticks in his hand. So I'm like, what? If you go look at the video on YouTube, he flips it out like he's just beating the hell out of those drums, and it honestly flies out, and he does not, I mean, no pun intended, but he doesn't miss a beat. He just grabs another stick and jumps back in, like you wouldn't have even known, right? So I mean, how magical is that? First of all, what a stud. How old is he? How many times has he done this? I don't know. I've never seen that happen before. I was just very impressed. Yeah. And he giggled, like he was just like having fun. He wasn't like pissed. He wasn't whatever. He's smiling, he's giggling, he's laughing. Everybody's happy. The whole band is happy. They're as giddy as I've ever seen them. They're playing off each other. They're looking around the room. Bono just keeps looking like he's in awe, like he can't believe he's there. And he probably can't. He's just freaking out, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So then off the main set, and I'm starting to lose my patience because there's some girls in front that have a shirt that they keep putting up, just like the sign at your show, Chris. Yeah. And they've seen the effing shirt by the 16th song. I'm sure the band has seen the shirt. I'm sure the cameras have seen the shirt. I'm sure the guy backstage wiping the sweat has seen the shirt. Put it down. You're being disrespectful to everybody behind you. And so I yelled, put the shirt down. And everybody's like, yeah. You know, the people around me were certainly happy I did. And they did. So lesson learned.
The message.
It works. It works sometimes. So then the best part of the night, and the part that I'm still like, I'm getting choked up just thinking about it, because I just burst into tears. And I actually don't do that very often, not in any circumstance. But they come back out for the encore, and we knew that it was going to be Angel of Harlem, right? They had to play Angel of Harlem in Harlem, whatever. So it wasn't a surprise that that was going to happen. But they come out, Bono says, you know, when we were here in 80 blank blank, and I want to point out, I've seen like 4 articles that say 1980 blah blah. I watched the video and I got it right. He just says 80 blank blank. So for the record, I've had people contacting me telling me to fix my article. I'm sorry. I'm the one that's, so I'm leaving it. Anyway, so he says, when we were here in 80 blank blank blank, and then you hear the beginning of it, and the curtain raises, and there's the beautiful horns. And oh my Lanta, I was freaking out. Everybody's freaked out. You can hear the crowd just shrieking. Everybody's on their feet in the seats. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. It was just so amazing. So then that whole set, that was my favorite part. The first encore, they went from that right into Desire, right into the funky When Love Comes to Town, where Larry held a beat for like, it felt like 15, 20 minutes. I'm not even joking. Like, he just kept going. And I hope to God that the official video or whatever comes out of that just focuses on him, because he was just like, I mean, he was just into it. But anyway, it was brilliant. So then Bono goes into this lovely, heartfelt, beautiful tribute to all the people who have hung themselves lately. And this jackass in the back starts going, Chris Cornell! Chris Cornell! And it's like, can you please let him speak and show some dignity to these people that were just recently lost? We're all sad about Chris Cornell. I'm a Seattle girl. I went to the monument the day he died. I'm with you, but this is not the time to be shouting that. So Bono keeps going, and then he says the Anthony Bourdain thing, and people around, you know, are really reacting to it, and they're very emotional. And here we go again, Chris Cornell. And so I just turn around and go, that's enough. So you'll hear me on variety of Periscopes screaming at the screamer because I just wasn't having it. I couldn't. It was such a bad thing to be doing at that moment, and people were so emotionally invested in what Bono was saying. I just thought it was horribly rude. But anyway, so then they go into Stuck in a Moment's beautiful, and I've always been lukewarm on that song, even though I'm a huge NXS fan and I love Michael Hutchence and all that, but it's never been in my favorites. That night, absolute gorgeous performance. Mm-hmm. So then they leave, and this is the part where it gets really cool. So when Karen and I were walking to the subway station that day, we were talking about the show, you know, what do you think's going to happen? What do you blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what? It's really odd, but I woke up this morning and I'd had a dream about Every Breaking Wave. And I don't care that much about that song. Like, I don't love it. I don't hate it. I'm indifferent, right? Never been in my top 5 for Innocence. But I said, I just can't get it out of my head. And I said, it doesn't even fit. I don't know why they play it tonight. And she's like, I don't know if we'll get that, you know, whatever. Boom. Second encore. Here come Edge and Bono. What do they play? Every Breaking Wave. So there's also a tape somewhere of me going, oh my God, they're playing Every Breaking Wave. So yeah.
Were they wearing ponchos while they did it?
No. Okay. And so, but Bono didn't remember the lyrics, so they got to do it twice, or they got to do part of it twice. Bless his heart. So then at the end of that, so we thought, okay, and we thought that was off the cuff. I mean, they're good actors because this was on the set list. The whole thing, the set list was absolutely kept to the T. but we thought that it was off the cuff at the time. And so we're like, oh my God, this is fantastic. And then Edge just turns around and does the or whatever of the Wild Horses. Oh my God. I was screaming. Everybody was screaming around me. It was so fantastic.
That was the best impersonation of Wild Horses. I got chills. It's like I'm there.
And the funny thing is, everybody's like, oh my gosh, have you never heard it? I'm like, actually, I've heard it like 3 times, but it was just so special right there. So Jill's losing it because she's been waiting for that. She's wanted that one for years. You know what? She hasn't heard it, so she's freaking out. We got people were just losing their minds because it's an Octane Baby kind of crowd, and so they play that, and then the finale, which I was hoping and praying, and we were, in fact, even the bro is with me. The bro in front of me was like going 40. I'm like, yeah, I co-signed that. But they didn't hear it, or they didn't care. So they played Love Is Bigger Than Anything in Its Way. And again, I've said it a million times. I like that song. I don't think it does well live. I think people just don't know it, or they're not into it yet. So they try to get people, the coaxing of the sing-along doesn't happen as much as Bono wants it to, or it feels like it doesn't. And I kind of like,
Yeah, that's where I feel like that's the message. They're trying to like push that hard and willing to put up with half the crowd or whatever it is not singing along just to try and get that song over. But yeah, Roland in the chat said, I think I might be nervous if I find myself near Tassoula at a concert. I'd certainly do my best behavior. And then Documented One said, I so needed you at the Rose Bowl last year. Lots of crazy bros there too. So.
Oh, you know what? I'm with you on that, because I was at Rose Bowl for 360, and that's when I vowed I would never return to that venue for that reason. Like, I almost got into a fist fight with bros at that show because they were just out of control. It was
no pun intended.
I mean,
so Documented asking I'm sure all the podcast listeners too are wondering, did you actually enjoy the show or not? We can't tell.
Oh my God, I loved it so much. Oh my God, it was the best show I've ever been to in my life. No, it was. I think
the question is, how much caffeine did Tassoula have today?
Yeah.
She
said she was all tired.
Coffee. I actually took a nap. I took a nap between work and this.
Okay, so
because I could.
I had a great idea. I was just gonna say that your impersonation of Wild Horses. I think this needs to be a recurring thing, along with YouTube brother Mark from Acrobat, his impersonation of Elevation intro.
Oh, that's good.
So
that's
we need
really
that.
Good. Yeah.
Eventually, we'll get the whole. The whole set.
Just get everybody. That should be that'll be like a requirement of being on the podcast. You have to do an imitation of the opening of one U2 song.
Yeah. Yeah,
and then we'll just have this whole big. We'll just have this whole big.
You're done now, Tassoula. You're good.
You're done. You're in.
I was gonna say I could do it for a bunch of them.
That was great.
Oh my God, so good, so good. What a surprise! Where did that come out of? I mean, did they play it tonight? By the way, I was wondering if they did it to like
Elevation?
Test it out again. No, I'm talking about Wild Horses.
Oh yeah, no, they didn't. New Wave Dame asked, just in the Ask Got You Too, said, which I think you answered, but did you didn't have any idea the horn players would be at the show, or was it a complete surprise? Is what they were asking.
Well, it was. I will say yes and no, because Gavin tweeted or Instagrammed or something and hashtag
Seriously,
horns. What?
I remember Caroline saying she was on the previous show, but mentioning before
that he ruins stuff
he often
because he spoils stuff.
Yeah, he's just like too excited about something.
Well, I expected, to be honest with you, like 2 or 3, like a saxophone and a trumpet and a trombone, maybe. I didn't think there was going to be 13 people behind Larry Mullen. I mean, that, and the presentation of it was so beautiful because the curtain just raised, and you didn't even realize that their backdrop was a curtain until that very moment. Yeah. So it was jaw dropping. I mean, people just like, Yeah. If there's video facing the other direction, there's going to be some embarrassing moments on that. Very much so.
So the concert is now being Matt, if you have questions too, feel free to jump. But the concert is being broadcast on Sirius XM now every day for a while in the US anyways, or somehow, I don't understand.
Most days.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 13 or 14 replays between now and the end of the month, which is 17 days away. So almost one a day and different times a day and all that sort of stuff. And I didn't listen today, but apparently they did not include Red Flag Day during the Sirius.
And that really bothers me because it really went well. Like the crowd was into it for a new song. I was surprised at how much the crowd was into it. They're very much into it.
I guess though, if you're gonna cut, like maybe just I don't know if it's a time thing.
Get out of your own way. That's the one that fell for me. That's when that's the only time I think I looked at my phone. I was like, well, okay, whatever. You have to do it. It's obligatory. You know, they got to do some stuff from the new album. But I'm looking at the chat room. Where does Apollo rank for your overall top 3 U2 show? Absolutely top 3. Yeah, because you know what, guys? Before I would say Beautiful Day, maybe up until Beautiful Day, I really felt like I was just at a club show with my favorite band. I felt like I was back in 1980 with them. And I said that, I guess, in my article, but I did feel like I time traveled, and I was one of those people at the Dandelion or at the Paradise or whatever, where they just would come out and enthusiastically play songs and then go home, you know? And that's, to me, that's like the best case scenario. My only disappointments would be the finale, like I said, and they didn't play anything from War.
Right.
And we thought that Two Hearts Beat as One would have fit really nice. I can understand why they didn't play Sunday Bloody Sunday. That makes sense. You know, it wasn't thematically, that didn't work. But yeah, Two Hearts Beat as One, or something like Red Light, Surrender, one of those early ones that they used to do, like Surrender, they used to do all the time. I wonder why they didn't. And
there was I saw lots of people mentioning there's cameras there, like video cameras. So obviously in some form it's going to be used for something. Hopefully we'll see it.
Very much. We had a camera actually in our section that was up on a crane-like thing, and then there was cameras that were moving behind the band, cameras at the front of the stage in front of the front row. There was, I mean, there was physical cameramen and women planted within the audience, but then there was also the ones on the equipment, you know. So I'm sure it'll be broadcast somewhere, somehow, someday. But who knows when? Maybe you'll see me yelling at the Chris Cornell guy. I don't know. I'd sign a waiver for that. That's fine. Yeah. I just don't understand. I mean, really, why do you do stuff like that at shows? Why? Why do you need that much attention in that moment? That's what I don't get. I don't, like, did he want Bono to acknowledge, oh yeah, Chris too? I mean, is he supposed to have a list? If Bono's talking about all the dead rock stars the past 2 years, we're going to be there all night. I mean, it's horrible, but it's true.
Yeah.
Let me just toss, because Chris, did you watch? Were you watching the Scopes?
No,
while
I didn't.
Tassoula was partying her head off and ruining her calves.
No, I was catching up on Twitter, but I wasn't watching the live stuff.
Because so I watched. We have to give props to what was her name? Sarah Woods.
Yeah, she was right in our section. Yeah, she was lovely, and she wasn't being bothersome either. She wasn't like doing this. She had it at a level that didn't disturb people.
Yeah, she scoped the whole show and was like, you know, the hero of the night for everybody that was not at the greatest show that they've ever experienced live.
Yeah, Roland says Chris was sulking, if memory serves. It's true, I was.
Yeah, you were Chris at the Apollo on Twitter.
Yeah. You changed your Twitter name that day.
That's funny. Oh, Seconds. Yes, looking at the chat room, Seconds would have been fantastic. But
anyway, I'll just toss this in for just because this kind of goes back to something we've talked about many times in the past on our podcast. After I watched the Scope, and I was trying to do the live tweeting for at U2's Twitter account and all this sort of stuff. And after the show ended, I think my son had been out. I think he was like getting some work done or studying or whatever. So I don't think he was paying attention. So after the show ended, we were out in the other room of the house, and I just said to him, I said, with the subject of the Apollo show came up to him, and I had watched the Scopes, and I said, "Oh, you didn't miss much." And that's literally how I felt after the show.
Oh my God! Oh wow!
No big deal. It was just another show. They played most of the same songs that they play on the tour. And then I thought, you know what? But I bet if you were in that little hall with only 1,500 people, that it was probably a really different experience. And so it just drove the point home for me that you can't really judge the show based on watching the streams. Because just based on watching the streams, literally, it didn't impress me at all. So... You know? But I totally,
Did you see Larry's stick fly by and him replace it?
No, of course not. You don't catch that stuff on the stream. I
gotta see that.
So, but I mean, it just so you compare that with Tassoula and what everyone else has said, on Twitter and Facebook and the people that were there and so it's just
a mess emotionally afterwards. I mean, we were in a state.
It just drove the point home to me that you can't judge based on watching or listening to the streams.
Yeah, and I think that's where a band like U2 and other bands, big bands or whatever that come along, really don't have a lot to worry about with the people streaming, because it doesn't replicate that experience.
No. Right.
And also, I think the added magic, of that is the difference for me, even of seeing Joshua Tree with like the whole crew or whatever, not everybody, but like a lot of our at U2 folks, and knowing that I was surrounded by hardcore U2 fans the whole night. Whereas, and so that's what you would have experienced at the Apollo show. Even the show in Montreal that I was at, like there's hardcore U2 fans and they're singing along, but you can tell when they drop out for certain songs or whatever. Whereas, and so it's just like being in that moment with the energy in the room, etc. Is obviously
totally different.
Sitting at your desk, looking at your phone.
Exactly. Answering emails.
And I figure if Edge can pogo the entire duration of Elevation while playing Elevation, then I should be able to pogo at least the duration of that song in their honor, So I got to get on whatever exercise regimen he's on, because his calves probably don't feel like this today.
No, and guitars are heavy. It's a lot of work actually standing with a heavy guitar.
But I think also, and that probably didn't come across in the streams, but just the energy, the demeanor of the band was so good. I mean, it made such a difference because they were having a blast. Like they were having so much fun. All four of them were having fun. And you don't always see that. And like, even at the end, like they came out to bow or whatever, and Adam and Bono and Larry are linked up and they're like, where's Edge? Where's Edge? And he had already gone off stage and Larry's like waving him back and giggling, and they're just having a blast. It was just so lovely to watch. And you felt like, okay, they've crossed that off their bucket list, and now I have too. I've never stepped foot in that venue until that night, and what a night. I mean, what a way to do it, so
I think that's what,
look at little Steven's tweets, for God's sake.
He obviously loved it. That's where seeing them like on that venue and that kind of show where it's obviously not as scripted. Like the set list obviously was basically the set list, but I noticed even like from night 1 to night 2 in Montreal, like, and even night 1, like Edge on what song I want to say, it doesn't matter, but he's walking out on the catwalk by himself towards the E stage, and he stops just before the E stage starts and turns. And I noticed and I was videoing it too, so I went back later and watched, but like the camera turns before him, like knowing that he's going to turn around at that moment and start walking back. Like it's not like a just random, I think I'll walk here and then I'll turn around and then I'll come, or whatever. And like even all the little moments where Edge goes to hit one part and then Adam comes later, and they, they have those scripted spots. They obviously have a bit of freedom in that. Like they're not locked to it, but you can tell, and like Edge, stands over there, smiles, plays the song, the riff, then goes over there and looks in the same sort of general area and gives everybody the photo op. And like that, which is fine. Like, especially if you see the show once and done, that's great. And I have no sympathy for people who see it 30 times and then complain about that. Like that's obviously what they're trying to do. Amen. But getting to see the Apollo show where it's like, there's no scripted spots a bit like with lighting and whatever, they might have that, but it's not like they have all these scripted elements throughout the whole show.
There were no screens. Yeah, exactly. There were no screens that they had to hold to. And even Bono's commentary, I don't know if it was, granted they could have practiced, but he seemed to get kind of choked up when he was talking about, during Pride or whatever, he was talking about the venue and Martin Luther King, and Harry Belafonte's in the audience, and he, has him get up, or we all look toward him and everything. And his daughters, there was times when Bono stopped. So Eve and Jordan were right above us in the first balcony on Edge's side. And you could see Bono looking at them. I mean, you couldn't mistake it. They were the only people in there for part of the time. There were other people around them. They were his family, and they were into it. They were singing, they were dancing, they were holding each other most of the show, which was so lovely to see. But, the last thing he says as he goes off stage is go to bed, or whatever, like telling them to get to bed. It was so cute. And it was just so sweet and so real. And it's like, you don't get that with every band. You don't get that with every show. I love
tonight. Actually, I noticed we need to wrap up the show, but I noticed on Philly show number 1, he he made reference to rooming with Evie on this tour or something like that. He said during the I think it was during the little call to Allie. Allie? No, why am I? His wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Allie.
Anyways, he made reference to like rooming with Evie on this tour or whatever, and how that's been going so great or whatever and stuff, which is just like a cute moment.
Well, and that's something we should bring up because people have been asking me, and I think there's been some tweets about it. Like when I've done the live tweets, I mean, they've been asking at you too. The phone calls that Bono makes to Allie, are they complete, nonsense, or is that scripted? And it's like, I can confirm, at least recently, no, because Levi really did graduate the night that he mentioned. He said, oh, tomorrow night's Levi's graduation. Levi's Edge's only son. And then the next day, Edge's wife's posting pictures of Levi's graduation. So it's like, some of that is definitely real. He may deliver it in a theatrical way, but I think it's coming from a true place. So
yeah. All right. Well, I think that's we've talked about everything Apollo, everything Montreal, most things anyways. And if you have questions,
when's your next show?
Comments.
When's everybody's next show? You're not going anywhere.
Whenever the next tour happens, I guess, or some benefactor sends me tickets and an airplane.
Chris and I are holding off until they play Saskatoon.
Yeah, I got to mention. Yeah, Saskatoon is now referenced on YouTube.com, so at least there's that. And
I saw you get that in.
Yeah, I had to sneak that in. I thought they'd probably cut it, but it got on there. But I do need to thank
the mention of the ice rink or whatever that was.
Beth for giving me a ticket for night 2. I wouldn't have been able to go to the show.
Yeah.
Well, I might have, but I mean, if I'd found a ticket, a scalper or whatever. But she sent me a ticket and was able to go, and she went to, I think, a nephew's birthday. So it all worked out.
We should mention many of our friends and colleagues are in Belfast right now for the YouTube conference. Yeah. So try to keep up with that. They're sending out a lot of tweets. Tim Neufeld's got a lot of tweets and posts going on, and the other Chris has some things going on. So just watch for those updates.
Yeah, they're also
try to put something on the site.
They're also ignoring my requests to write news on the site about it.
I was just gonna say, like, we're trying to get some things up on the site, but
we could write it on the site,
connection must be
or we could go to the pub in Belfast.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
So, and they had some travel drama, so you know, got to give them props.
We'll catch up with them when they get back. U2conference.com is where you can check that out. Where can folks send you some tweets and feedback if they so desire, Matt?
At Matt McGee is fine.
And Tassoula?
At Tassoula, your favorite hate mail repository.
And I'm iChris, and twitter.com/ATU2 is where you can follow at U2, and facebook.com/ATU2com, and instagram.com/ATU2com is where you can find us on the social medias. And of course, the website, ATU2.com. We stream live most Wednesdays. Goodstuff.fm/ATU2 is where you can find the past podcast episodes. And we appreciate your support. If you leave us a comment, a rating, review in iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts, that would be great as well to help get the word out about the show. And once again, we want to thank you two for opening for us tonight. It was great. Good show, guys. And we'll see you again.
Just Calves probably already like this today. I'm looking at the suggestions.
We'll see y'all next time. Thanks for watching. And goodbye. I don't have the music queued up, but I can do it in post.
Oh my goodness.
There's some really weird static or something going on there. Okay.
I don't hear it.
Yeah, it's just on.
I'm just looking at your slacks, you guys. So mean. Is this the longest monologue we've ever had? I don't think so. I think that goes to when Jill met Bono. Remember? She told like a 25-minute
I think
story.
You beat that. Look, at 8:48, people were commenting about you being excited about a poncho, which you had been talking about for at least 7 minutes. So you started at about 8:40 or 8:41, and it wasn't until 8:55 when I asked if it was the longest podcast. And then 8:59 is when you finally said, "This is the part where it really gets cool."
I was just so excited for the serendipity. Like, you wouldn't believe how much bitching I did about the $8 cost of that poncho up until the point where the revelation that I could use the thing it came in as a purse. Oh my God, the poor girls.
Okay, go to
I'm waiting
there's a link in the show notes. Good or
Sure.
showbot.tv/s/?channel equals good stuff.fm, and that link will allow you to vote by
Tassoula,
clicking on a title for the episode. All from Tassoula's monologue, I think.
Tassoula, you better write the B&B about this, because if I do, I'm going to say that you were on the show and Chris and I just sat here.
Oh, hey, he had what, half an hour to talk about 2 Canadian shows? Come on now. No, I just got excited.
What's the address, Chris? What is it?
I just
Yeah,
tweeted
what
it out
is
to. It's in the chat. I'll put it in the.
I
Slack.
can't see the chat. My internet connection.
I can't.
It's
I'll put it in
fuzzy.
Slack there.
Okay, yeah, put
there.
it in Slack.
Showbot.tv.
There we go. Okay, here we go.
Thank you to before you all leave. Where's my shot? There.
Oh my god.
Roland, document 1. This train 900 nanners. Kyle, if you're still there, you just popped in. This train. Did I say that?
Oh, goodness me. Okay, I'm gonna put one up for there. I voted for the Calves because that's funny.
Nanners. Think.
Oh no.
Unfortunately, the video version gets the weird, like you can put animated chat stuff in emoji. I don't know what they are in the chat, but and then the video stream gets translated as goal 1, goal 1, goal 1. Anyway,
Oh my gosh. I want to see what.
thanks for
see
the
how many
cheers,
people are
Kyle,
still-
by the way, for sending us a digital cheer. And Nanners, I think, did it. It's like this.
Oh, and
This whole like weird world of Twitch where you can like buy bits that you give to streamers, and then that somehow gives the streamer like a couple pennies. But then over, obviously if you're like streaming Fortnite or something and you have 50,000 people watching you and they all give you 5 cents, then it adds up, I guess. But at our scale, it's kind of a funny thing.
did you guys do some? Speaking of Kyle, did you guys do something different with Discord today? Because I got, for the first time ever, I got an alert from Discord that we were going live.
Yeah,
And that's
there's
never happened before.
Yeah, we set up a new, or I was just trying a new bot thing to just auto announce, because I always forget to post in there, but have it automatically send it out, and then it alerts like at everybody, which is kind of annoying, because then they're like, even if they're not YouTube folks or whatever, they get it. But
Well, that's why I asked. Am I going to get like morning show
you might, yeah.
alerts and stuff? Okay.
Well, I mean, if you're signed in, if you're following Twitch, you'll get a email notification anyways when you go live. Unless you turned off email notifications, you can control that on your Twitch account. But I'm going to be on morning show on Friday, I think it is. Did we agree on, Kyle?
For what?
For talking stuff.
To talk about what?
I don't know, morning stuff.
Food?
Yeah.
Breakfast, eggs,
Video games and breakfasts. Anyways, I need to go because I'm hoping to watch an episode of Westworld before I go to bed.
Good luck with that. That one got cut from my DVR.
Oh, I'm still a couple episodes back, so we're catching up. But thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone,
I'm
for
glad
watching
I didn't
live.
have to do the live tweet and did this instead.
Thanks,
This is
boss.
a lot more fun. Yeah. Thanks, boss, for messaging me earlier today.
And the audio episode will be up
exactly.
tomorrow sometime, I think. Yeah, it will. Not I think.
And share the audio of Tassoula introing Wild Horses.
Yeah, we'll do.
I think I nailed it. That's it.
Turn off the stream now. Good night, guys.